All right, is the mic live? Hello. Okay, then. Just like that. We didn't do a mic check, sir. I know my Aries voice carries quite loudly. We are excited. It is May 8th, 2026.
Mother's
Community
Day, right
Cuts
next around the
BK.
corner.
Yes, and we
Mothers.
all come from mothers. Women born as women who are mothers, right? Today I'm excited, Ricky. Do you see who's with us?
Yes, Alicia Boyd.
Yes. And Miss Alicia Boyd, you're going to talk to us about what today?
Well, we're going to talk about concerned mothers.
And there you have it. Keeping the theme going.
Yes, as Mother's Day rolls around, we're going to talk about the potential of a very vulnerable community being harmed by the city when they plan on placing mentally ill and substance abuse users mere feet away from a battered women's shelter that holds mothers and victims.
And it's always good for a podcast in the first 30 seconds to get right to the point. And that's what I love about you and what I've seen so far. But I want to point a few things out because our founder, Duke Saunders, who loves to be off camera, is doing things a little bit different. So most polite people and people of etiquette, we're taught to make eye contact, except for the camera is over there. And I want to make sure you've already shared some phenomenal things with us, and we're kind of rolling it back. And up top, just so you can see what we look like, but we can't look at ourselves because then we'll be looking at the TV. And the people's hair is all over the place for me today. So I'm going to focus over there. And so let's wind it back just a little if you're just tuning in.
Mic check.
You sound great.
Mic check. Very good.
Yeah. So we normally do that off, but now we're live. I'm sure you can hear me. And our seats, Duke, before the next show, we're going to need a different type of, maybe a pillow for our guests to sit in, one that they can sit on. Right? Because if you look up top, I'm kind of towering over. And if you do me a favor, Duke, if you pull the whole tripod back a little toward you, we can catch a little bit more of our guests. Yes, now you are 6 feet. Now you are 6 feet tall. Now Duke is gonna fix the camera. Boom. Nice. That is perfect. Okay. Rewind. All right. So what
I would like to discuss with Miss Alicia Boyd is the Society of Clinton Hills. I just renewed my membership with them. We had a meeting on Friday last week. I was at the door, and it was run by a young lady. And the issue was politicians were supposed to show up, but they didn't show.
Wait a minute. I love Ricky. We're like freaking frack or yin and yang. We already said we're talking about the shelters first, sir.
That's what I'm going to get to. That came up in the meeting.
Oh, the shelters.
There was no one from a political office that knew about it.
That knew about the shelters.
It came up along with historic buildings inside of Clinton Hills. No one knew where they were.
Well, then why don't we do this? We're going to take this time to let our guests inform us about the shelters and what we can all do to support. And then you and I will circle back to that Clinton Hill area.
Very good.
And we will educate them.
Very good.
Okay. That sounds like a plan.
Okay. Where would you like to start? I know there were some things that happened this past week in terms of community events around the shelters.
Well, the Mandami administration had decided a couple of months ago to close the Bellevue mental health facility due to safety concerns of the physical space. Okay. And in that process, they are supposed to be relocating the men from these shelters into different parts of the community. However, what we found was that all of the men that are in these shelters, about 250 of them,
that's a lot,
who are mentally ill and have substance abuse issues, which is a very heavy concentration of vulnerable men,
Mhm.
were designated to be put into two communities. Actually,
Okay.
the same community, the Flatbush Crown Heights community, in Rita Joseph's, the city council's district.
District
And-
40.
Right, District 40. And people were really in an uproar over the fact that these communities already have a high concentration of shelters already in these communities, where there were other communities such as, Staten Island and parts of Brooklyn, like Bensonhurst and Bay Ridge, that had no shelters. And we were giving no notice about this. It took everyone by surprise. There are laws that the city violated in not providing notice, not considering other shelters. And in our case, this particular shelter that's coming in my community is on Empire Boulevard.
Yes.
And if you know anything about Empire Boulevard, it sits right next to the Brooklyn Botanic Gardens. It sits right next to Empire Prospect Park. And it houses actually the densest populated area in Brooklyn. It's a concentration. It's basically all residential. So it's a highly residential community. But what is really of concern is the fact that this shelter is being proposed on this right next to a senior center day facility, and mere feet away from a battered women's shelter with their family.
That to me already, I'm very familiar with the area, and Empire Boulevard is a very long stretch of road, and so we're talking about the 200 block or so of Empire. So I think that's between Rogers and maybe Bedford.
Right.
Rogers is in Bedford. And so to think that you could have a hotel housing men, or even if it were women, but men who are having maybe issues with addictions, mental health struggles, and walking steps, not blocks, walking steps, women who also are going through various types of trauma, seniors getting in and off of accessoride and walking to a daytime facility for adult care. And then we also mentioned one of my favorite assembly members' office is just blocks away. And then there's the liquor store.
Well, he's not actually blocks
away.
No,
blocks away. That's right.
He's
Feet
on
away.
The block.
Feet away. Brian, I know where your office is because we'll be there on the 19th for housing.
That's Assemblyman Brian Cunningham.
Right. Yeah. And so that is alarming. And right across the street, you have several small businesses. And what's interesting too, there's a high level of traffic of kids that pass on that road, especially those that are coming from school. Their favorite kind of like little hangout places, McDonald's, and you've got Popeyes. So yeah, and if those 250 individuals are being divided into two locations, theoretically, we could say maybe half are going to each place.
Well, the numbers don't exactly add up because we're supposed to be getting 140, and Franklin and the King's Theater, where the King's Theater is at in Flatbush, is getting 130. So it's a little bit over 250. So of course we're questioning some of the information that's coming to us.
Right, makes you wonder if it isn't more.
Right, and what we found is that these shelters are actually being created underneath a scam.
And when you say scam, do you mean in terms of housing and what their daily
because
rate?
what they've been doing, what developers, corporations have been doing, in this case, the Ramada Inn has done this in several communities. They create a hotel, and then within a year, it's a pattern. It's just a continuous pattern.
Why can't they do right? Why can't they do right? There is a need for men's shelters, and also with women, the battered women's need this type of shelter.
Well, I think the point that she's making is something different, right? So staging and premeditation. So if you know that you can build a hotel, you don't really have the intent for it to be a destination place to capitalize off of tourism. You know that within X amount of months, you can convert it to a shelter, which I believe probably gives them increased dollars.
Well, they are anticipating right now. They have they cite their rooms to be $140 a night, whereas the city will give them $8,000 a month just for one person.
Shut the front door.
So if one room holds 2 people and they want to put 2 men in one room,
16,000.
yes, in 1 month.
I need to build a hotel. that is what I'm learning as a small business owner. I need a small business loan to buy land.
And this is a pattern. This particular developer has put Ramada in hotels in different communities, and within a year, seems to be the year mark. Within a year, they've been converting them. And so what they've been doing is saying that they're creating a hospitality enterprise. But in factually, they're just
a government facility.
Well, they're converting it. And the city is supporting that. But one of the things that really is of concern for us is, and you're right, people do need shelters, right? We do need to house this
in
group
Queens,
of men.
it was the same situation.
Yeah,
and
but let me
did the same thing.
But there's already been a multitude of studies that say that when you put that many people with those many problems together, all you get is chaos.
Yeah.
And
but
let's
they
get
know that today.
no, but let's also think back to the pandemic and the Upper East Side when they converted the hotels into shelters for the homeless. Oh, the Upper East Side was outraged,
right?
Because the other part, and you know, I love my community. I love my people. I love all people. One of the things that they were pointing out that they were so disgusted with is when you have people who have various types of housing instability, or mental instability. Sometimes you have individuals that are bad characters. So you have people urinating in the street, harassing the neighbors. And I remember distinctly there being a protest saying, get those people out of here on the Upper East Side.
Oh, definitely. And there was just a study done about a women's shelter that's located on Tillery Street, downtown Brooklyn.
Yes.
And that's also a shelter for the mentally ill and chemically addicted. And they showed that the moment that shelter opened up, the moment 911 calls went up to 1,000 calls, and 25% of those calls were related to deaths, overdose, assault. So there's a lot of aggression that comes from that. And everyone is saying that it's because you're putting too many people in these very tight quarters that have multiple problems, and you're not helping them. It's not an environment that's conducive for anyone to heal. And it's an invitation for violence.
And I'm wondering, so I mean, you brought up the women's shelter on Tillery. That women's shelter, I know, is also being investigated for a lot of things. Some of it's internal with staff and how they treat the individuals there. I knew several women who reached out to me for assistance. Because part of that cycle of going through the shelter, some individuals will receive a voucher for supportive housing. Some will receive city voucher, Section 8. And there becomes issues at times with people in authoritative positions dangling that paperwork over individuals that are housed there. I'm just wondering, for the 2 hotels, the number of individuals that are possibly going into each. You gave some numbers. What is that ratio to staff, right?
Well, they call it wraparound services. And what was interesting about the hearing that was conducted in Flatbush a few days ago that I attended was how there already exists in the community that type of shelter. with wraparound services. And yet for 2 hours, I heard testimony of people talking about how those services don't work.
Right.
Like it's a failure. Like people
what
are
does-
defecating. There are people defecating in streets, people having sex in stairwells.
Mhm.
Two young girls, a 12-year-old girl talked about how men were constantly following her down the block,
Mhm.
that she had to avoid certain streets. She had to go into the street to avoid these men.
Mhm.
You know, one girl, 13-year-old, said that she has seen more booties shining
Mhm.
in her face than her young eyes should see.
Right.
So there's a lot of, you know, men are exposing themselves.
Mhm.
And so even though they talk about all this wraparound services, none of these services are mandated that they have to attend. So you might have.
Do you know what wraparound means? Is that 24-hour set, 24/7?
Well, it's
or?
no. Well, the only thing that's actually 24/7 is the security guards, right?
Okay.
And they're supposed to have 3 security guards for each shift. But that's 47 people, 47
Mhm.
ill people to one security guard. And
47 people with different mental instabilities, which
Right.
I imagine is more like 3 times as
yes.
many.
And it only pertains to when they are inside the shelter,
That's what I
right?
thought.
And
Mhm.
these people, these men are have to go outside, which they do, right?
Right.
And they're allowed to go outside, and so
Mhm.
nobody's monitoring their behavior outside.
Mhm.
And so you should have just heard. It was just a horror the way that this community is experiencing that, and so instead of the city looking at shelters that could be smaller,
Mhm. Right.
you know, that give people privacy. Why are you putting 2 mentally ill men sleeping in the same room?
In the same room.
You know, you can remember if you ever went to college, you know, and you had the
Yes, in the
roommate, you know,
dorms.
that was already kind of traumatizing sometime.
Yes.
And some people just like water and oil, they
Mhm.
just didn't mix. But you're putting 2 mentally disturbed people who have emotional problems together and with no privacy. So there's no privacy for these men,
Mhm.
and they don't participate in the services, even though they're wraparound services, because they're not mandated and they don't have to.
Right.
And there's just a continuation of failure.
And the Ramada Inn that's across from King's Theater, that's a super
Well,
heavy.
it's called Red Roof.
Oh yeah, Red Roof +1.
Okay.
I saw that, and I was like, no, because I know there was every time I go down the street, I frequent a small business restaurant, and I'm sure he's going to be up in arms when I let him know what I found out tonight. Golden Blue Bar restaurants at the corner of Flatbush and Clarendon, and lots of times, and I'm going to say something people don't like. There are a lot of smoke shops in our community as well. A lot of them are unlicensed. I'm of the mindset that some of the stuff that they're selling is not good for our community. The amount of people already walking up and down Flatbush Avenue and Empire Boulevard that look like they're a little bit off, I don't know that our little community can stand 150 people here and 150 people coming from this direction.
I mean, it's a matter of what we call cumulative effects, right?
Mhm.
I mean, one community, if you have a community and it has one shelter, and they can absorb and handle and tolerate that influx. But then when you put another shelter, then it becomes an oversaturation.
Mhm.
And and the city's response is, well, the only community that they feel is oversaturated, even though in East Flatbush is 10 shelters that are there that we're talking about that already exist. Yes, they already exist in that community.
That is why.
That
That is
well,
why,
9, and this one will be the
We
10th.
said-
I'm sorry.
And so, just for argument's sake, we mentioned Staten Island for a second earlier. How many shelters are in Staten Island?
They have no beds, no shelters.
Staten Island, I'm supposed to come there next week for a small business function. I think I need to ask y'all, why don't you all have a shelter? Why don't you take some of these people? That's amazing to me.
Mhm.
About to be 10 in Flatbush and none in Staten Island. Are there shelters in Long Island?
Well, Long Island is not a municipality. It's not a part of New York City.
Okay.
There's very few. There's like no shelters in Bensonhurst. There's no shelters in Bay Ridge. There's no shelters, in the wider areas of Brooklyn.
I was just about to to say that sounds like everything the Black and brown community, we're absorbing everything,
Right.
while
Right.
we get the least amount of resources.
Right. And that was one of the things that a lot of the people talked about, was the lack of police presence.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're supposed to have a council, an organization that's supposed to be overseeing the shelter, the current one
Mhm.
that's been a failure. And they haven't been successful at that one, but now they want to put another one in there.
Well, did you know what's interesting? Last weekend, there was a show at King's Theater. Went to see Shine after 20-something years here in Brooklyn. And two people who attended the show, I met them at the restaurant that I mentioned earlier. They were staying at the Ramada +1.
Oh, okay.
And so I said to them, and I'm sorry, Ramada, I was like, you staying there on purpose? Like, did you not Google anything else? And those people did not look like me.
Okay.
And they said to me, we're having such a good time. And her husband was a very large guy. And she said, we just go in the room and close the door. And so in my head now, hearing this, I'm saying to myself, wait, so they have people from shelters in a hotel that's actively taking guests?
Well, it's not supposed to open up yet.
Okay.
Okay. So now these hotels are still doing business. The Ramada Inn on Empire is still open for business. The Red Roof is still open for business. These shelters are supposed to be opening up June 1st.
Oh my goodness! Right in time for summer,
Right.
where they're not where people are not gonna be in their hotel rooms. They're gonna be out in the street. I bet what would be an interesting study, which is easy to do, talking about numbers, find out what are those 911 calls and interactions on day one versus after the fact. I learned that from my local precinct, that you can call them and they'll tell you how many 911 calls originate from a specific address. You go to one police plaza or whatever it is and find out more information.
The Gothamists actually did an investigative on the women's shelter that I mentioned down in Tillery, and they did exactly that. They looked at all the we were on the 911 calls, and like I said, they had over 1,000 in 1 year. Every year they had up to 1,000 calls.
That's a lot, because I live in a building, where I did up until December, that's in that same area that has a lot of issues. And in 1 year, we had 450 in one building.
Right.
And so 1,000.
Yeah.
That is a lot.
Yes, it is.
The local NYPD probably needs their own room there. So while we are educating the community about these shelters, I had no idea there are 10 shelters, right? Or this will be the 10th. What can the community do at this point?
Well, it's about putting political pressure, because we know that a lot of communities, when they put political pressure, when they organize protests, when they get the media to follow this, that these shelters can be closed. Like it's not a permanent situation. We know that these shelters are run by corporate America. We know that the idea is just for them to make money. Project Renewal's staff, their top staff makes almost $400,000.
For the corporations, not within the actual.
The nonprofit that runs the shelter is Project Renewal, who's doing both of the shelters.
Wow.
That I'm referring to. Their head, their CEO, the top person makes almost $400,000. And the average of everyone else, the next 10 people underneath him, make $250,000. So they're making a lot of money off of these shelters.
And are they putting in any of that back into the community?
No, nothing comes back to us. All of the money gets the city. We pay the $16,000 for one room a month, and the profit goes to the property owner who owns the shelter, who owns the hotel that has been converted into a shelter. And then some of the money goes to the wraparound, and I keep saying that, wraparound services, and that's it. That's it. There's no additional money given for additional police support, like to create a team. You know, in my community, they'll have a team for ticketing. Like they have a ticket trap. There's a ticket trap in my community. They literally have 9 officers appointed. 9 officers.
Are you talking about the Eagle team?
No, I don't know the name of it, but they have 9 officers assigned to that team with the sergeant, and every shift that team goes out to give tickets at this ticket trap.
Ticket for cars?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the other ticket traps.
But this is but you would invest all this money for the ticket traps, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a trap, and most people just always get caught in the trap.
And that's what the Eagle team is. So the Eagle team is the NYPD or MTA police that target or hang out by the buses and the subways. So that's a ticket trap for people who are going through the turnstiles.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so with that ideology, why aren't there teams of police designated in these areas? Because now I'm thinking, you convert the Ramada +1 to a shelter, that has to have a negative impact on the small business, restaurants, clothing, whatever those businesses are in that area, who also are not getting poured back into while this corporation is made. Because I don't walk up and down Flatbush close to King's Theater anymore because it's just too crazy.
Right. And so now you're
really
about
is.
And that's the thing, is like when the city is supposed to not only say, oh yeah, there's a shelter here, but the city is supposed to do what you call an environmental assessment, an environmental impact, like you said. It's supposed to look at this and say, what kind of impact will this have? What is exactly there already happening in this community? And what could possibly happen if we put the shelter in? And how can we mitigate it? They call it a mitigation.
Quality of life investigation?
Right. They're supposed to do this. It's required by the state. It's required by the
What
secret.
precinct is it that's supposed to?
Well, the one in Flatbush is the 70th precinct, and my precinct is the 71st precinct. So the 70th precinct. But they're not doing that. They're just saying, okay, we got this multimillionaire who's probably has given us some money under the table, and he has decided that this shelter is something that he can make a lot more money for. Okay, so let's go ahead and put it there, and without anyone considering the effects of these on the community.
And I imagine some people are saying, well, it's already crappy over there anyway.
Right.
They won't notice.
You're going to notice an additional 130 people. But it's not only does it endanger the existing population or the new population coming in because you're not really servicing them correctly, but you're also endangering everyone else in that proximity.
Wow. And there's already a lot of crimes against our senior community in these different areas, which drives me nuts. And the kids who, to me, young people today in New York City, a lot of them have nothing to do. So they're just kind of hanging out. And I can't imagine being a young person and running into,
Well, there's 2 schools literally right around the corner.
Yeah.
So when you were talking about, one is a public school, elementary school, the other one is a middle school. And so we're concerned about the proximity of those schools. So yeah, there's a lot of negative impact that could happen in this very small area. And you have 3 shelters already. So you already have a family shelter, you already have a battered woman shelter, and you already have a sex offender shelter.
Oh, and every time Citizen app goes off when there's a new sex offender.
Yeah, and now you have coming a mentally ill. And our concern really is a lot of women, the battered women who are there with their families, normally are battered by men who might be mentally ill, are battered by men who have addiction. So this is the population in which they're battered, right? And so you're going to put that same population now right next door to them.
Makes absolutely
no sense. And you're really endangering their welfare. Where you're talking about the safety, then you have to be concerned about the safety of the existing vulnerable populations, the seniors, right? That's a very vulnerable population, as well as the battered women population. That's a very, you should not be allowed to endanger them so that somebody else can make money. Because this is about money, making money.
And to be honest, the Ramada +1, and I'm sorry I'm calling you all out, but when you walk past them, nothing about that hotel says come inside.
Right.
The window, well, and I wouldn't come inside anyway, because to me, for it to be on Flatbush, I'm sorry, y'all, it's a joke anyway. But the window, the curtains aren't open. And I remember there's another hotel on Utica Avenue, and they built it some time ago. And I think it's like a Ramada. And if you went to the website to look at it, they literally computerized trees and things around it so that you don't see that it's right in the middle of a busy kind of industrial looking like street. And it always tickles me when you see tourists who are in these places. And I'm always like, you're staying where? Oh, yes. And it's so much culture and it's so New York. Oh, no, it's not. We don't go there. We built it for you.
Well, yeah. When they first built this Ramada Inn, I saw the look of this Ramada Inn. To me, it looked like a shelter.
Yes.
It looked like a shelter.
From day one.
From the day. So I had FOIL. I did a Freedom of Information request. And I asked the city, is this a shelter? Because it looks like a shelter. They came back to me about 3 months ago. No, it's not a shelter. 3 months later,
it's about to be a shelter.
Right. And 3 months later, it's about to be a shelter. So you're right. There was no amenities. Like when you put a hotel, you put like a lobby, you put a restaurant, you put, upstairs, you might have a restaurant or some kind of, activities upstairs. Nothing. This is bare bones, about the outside. Small little rooms with a security desk that has bulletproof glass. Glass.
It gave me halfway house when I looked at it. It gave me, many years ago, I thought about as a small business. And when I was into just thinking about money, halfway houses and things like that, government contracts, that's a lot of money. And every time I look at the Ramada, and then I wonder, wow, how are they doing? And I think that's Old Navy or Gap that's close by, but nothing about those hotels. And the majority of the outside of it is actually closed. It's not a lot of glass. Most hotels say, hi, come in, stay here. Right. This is a safe place. Windows closed. No, don't come here. We got a better plan.
Yeah. And that is their plan. And it's not just happening here. It's this Ramada, these types of hotels are popping up everywhere now in communities. And it's becoming the model. Knowing how dysfunctional these hotels are existing, that turn into shelters. They know that the population just gets more violent. And yet the city continues on this model instead of making smaller units. The city used to actually do that. The city used to have very small sites so that when a shelter came into a community, it might hold 10, 15 people in one place. And then,
so
in
you
another
wouldn't
place.
Really notice
right.
It.
So that the population can blend, so the community can absorb, right, this population and tolerate it. And they also had a lot more privacy. They had private rooms by themselves. But now this model is more of an economic model that services developers. And, and that model is put as many people as you possibly can, cram them in there as much as you can.
Almost like they want them to eat their young, to devour themselves.
They want to hide them.
Well, I don't.
Well, you ain't hiding those populations. You ain't hiding that population.
But I think they want them to self-collapse. It'll be a high turnover rate. but it also reminds me of the men's shelter at the corner of Bedford and Atlantic.
Yes.
And so
Yes, that's been there
I
for
have a friend
decades.
who has a restaurant a couple blocks up. It's La Mode BK, beautiful restaurant. Just celebrated their 3-year anniversary, Black owned by a woman. Check it out. But whenever I walk down Bedford to cross Atlantic, I never walk on the side of the street where the shelter is, because you can't. And it's not saying that that all of the people are bad or anything like that, but as a woman, you just don't feel safe as you approach, and there's 25, 30 men standing out, and it looks like some of them are all on bikes. Maybe they do Uber and things like that. I'm just wondering if you convert that hotel into a shelter, you're going to have those type of people standing on the sidewalk. And listen, between the dollar van and the buses on Flatbush, there is nowhere to stand.
Well, that was the reality currently. That is the reality currently. So to put another 130 people there is just going to be horrendous to that community, and definitely to ours.
What are the local politicians? What are they saying?
Oh, that's interesting that you would say that. Well, Cunningham, who is right on the same block, and his office resides next to the liquor store, has written a letter against the shelter, even though technically it's not in his district. It's on the border of his district. He's just a block away. It's right, actually, his district is across the street. So it's not even a block away, it's across the street. So he's written a letter. We know that this state senator, Myrie, has just had a conversation and meeting with the city, and he's supposed to be writing a letter against the project.
Excellent.
However, our city council person, Crystal Hudson, whose district this shelter resides in.
35.
That's right. And who is actually the head of the committee that oversees the Department of Social Services and Homeless Shelters. She's the chair.
I did not know that.
She is the chair. So that means she would have had prior notice about this a long time ago. And being the chair that oversees these agencies, she also has a lot of political power. She has refused to respond to the community. She has not come to any meeting. She's been requested to come. She's ignored letters that have been sent to her. And remember, this is a city agency initiative. So it's your city council people who have the power, not your necessary, your state, your assembly. Right. It's nice that the assembly is saying something. It's nice that your state senator is something, really, but they don't have the power.
And I'm learning, and you're further to first of all, I always cannot say her name. The young lady comes on our show. You just said her name.
Crystal Hudson. So she is a friend to Community Cuts. Okay. I also learned recently, this is a different topic, talking about deed theft and things of that nature, that those laws that allowed people to come in with these tax liens and ultimately take people's homes, those are laws that are pushed forward and okayed by the city council as well, right?
As opposed to the assembly. And I would be very interested to hear, although you're saying she's not responding, what is her sentiment, because that's very interesting, surprising.
Well, we know that her colleague, Rita Joseph, now remember, this shelter is on the border of Rita Joseph's district, right? Because again, her district is across the street. Because Empire is just one of those boulevards that they just,
it's in the middle of everybody.
Right. It's, we got two different types of districts going on here. She wrote a very strong letter against the King's Theater, basically stating that we've done our fair share. It's not right for you to come and put this kind of burden on this community when we already have 9 shelters that are here. You want to put a 10th one where you have not looked at all the communities that have no beds.
Right.
You know, we have to start sharing. There needs to be an equal sharing of the responsibility of the homeless, and not put it on the Black community. As we watch our communities become unlivable, and we watch our our families and our friends and our businesses be fearful and close down. So she wrote a very, very strong letter. But where were the other elected officials standing with her?
Right.
They were not there. One elected official came. She was Assemblyman Rodneyse Prashad, who's the head of the Democratic Club, who chooses the judges in Brooklyn. She just said, "Oh, well, I don't know what we should do. Oh, I'm just here to listen." So you're coming to a hearing on a shelter that's negatively affecting your community, and you act like you don't know what's going on. You don't know what is happening, and you don't have any suggestions to the community about what they should do. I mean, I just didn't understand that. What are you doing here then? You know, you are an elected official. If anyone, you're the one that should be advising the community what actions they need to be taking in order to stop this. Because we know that these shelters can be stopped, because we watched it happen in white communities all over New York City. We watched them be proposed, we watched them make a fuss, and we watch all of a sudden
they disappear.
The shelter doesn't materialize. So we know that. And instead of her using the power that she has to help her community, she shows up and says, "Well, I'm listening." And this is the problem with the other elected officials. They show up and say, "I'm listening." So Assemblywoman Farrah Fawcett, who's Farrah.
You said Farrah, but it's not Farrah Fawcett.
No, it's Soufant. Sorry.
Yeah.
I always get her name wrong. Soufant. She came to the meeting and she said, and we said, "Well, what's your position? Can you take a position?" She said, "Well, I'm busy because I'm taking care of the budget." And then the community resident asked her again, "Yes, but we understand you're taking care of the budget, but that happens every year. You take care of the budget didn't pass. What do? You sit there, wait for the budget to pass. But are you still taking the position?" She refused to say that she was going to take a position against the shelter. She just said, "I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy." That is an indication that you are not supporting your community.
Right.
And
there's something larger at play.
Yes. So we have some elected officials that are coming out and actually supposed to be making statements. We have the other ones saying, "I'm listening, I'm listening, I'm listening," but no action.
Woo. So, it's a lot of information. And so today is May 8th, and I want to jump on the bandwagon.
I want to hear about Mother's Day. I want to hear about a pitch for Mother's Day for all the mothers that are listening. I'm sure there is a few. I do chime on after the meeting and see it all over and listen to the comments. There are a few women that are mothers that are praising Duke and watching you and loving our guests.
Why am I not getting praised? Why is he getting praised? He's not doing nothing. The nerve of you mothers. No, I'm teasing. I guess for Ricky, he's like, that's enough of the shelters. I need some lightness in my heart.
You both are right about shelters.
Before we end the show,
they're always doing the wrong thing in concern of people they're trying to hide. So they'll never figure it out unless somebody washes their hands clean and then takes care of it. Their hands are always dirty about shelter.
But see, you don't say much, but then when you do, you come out and say some things that I didn't say that part.
It's true. It has been in the paper for years.
No, I get it. Before we talk about Mother's Day, though, I would like to ask Miss Alicia Boyd, those people who now the things you've said now resonates with them, how can they, all of us, reach out to you to lend support going forward?
Well, it's important that, we all understand that this can happen to you. So watch out in your neighborhood if you see a shelter, if you see a hotel being built in your neighborhood.
That's the first.
That's the first thing. Watch out, because once you start seeing a hotel and there's not a lot of entertainment for people to come into your neighborhood, and all of a sudden a hotel's coming, especially Ramada Inn, trust me, that is being proposed as a shelter. So be aware of that. The way that you can help us, obviously, is you can sign our petitions that we have online. You can write letters to your elected officials, or you can just get on our email list. Because once you get on our email list, we send a lot of action items. So we ask you to click on something and then send it to your elected officials. And so we'll be doing that. We plan on we're having a town hall next Tuesday.
There's a lot happening next
Yeah,
Tuesday.
next Tuesday we're having a town hall at MS 61 at 400 Empire Boulevard. That's Empire Boulevard and New York Avenue. So again, that's MS 61, 400 Empire Boulevard if you want to come out and support us. That's at 6:30 p.m. You can reach me at info. My email is info, I-N-F-O, at mtopp.org. That's mtop.org. So I'm saying it again, info, I-N-F-O, at mtop.org, mtopp.org. Or you can call me. I love phone calls. It's not a cell phone, it's a landline.
Oh, okay.
Still doing those.
That's good.
718-703-3086. Again, 718-703-3086.
And I think it's great. Just a funny thought. You said you have a landline. I'm in the middle of relocating. And as soon as I relocate into my new place, I'm going to get a landline again, because the funny thing with all this going on with AI, if the cellular service was to ever go down, the only people who would be able to talk to each other are all our elders. The young people, we would be stuck. Like, hey, mom, you wouldn't be able to call anyone. And when I thought about it, all my aunties, my parents, grandparents, things like that, they all have a landline. But you know, the younger generation, we all have we have cells.
I do have a landline.
Okay, so everyone, and you know, and that's good. But I'm gonna get one soon. And we're gonna transition, because usually the show is about an hour, and Ricky is usually the one who has a hot date plan, so he tries to keep the show going.
Always that.
Yes, and I see you got your hair cut. Yeah. He's gonna be going out and celebrating with all the mothers this weekend.
Mother's Day. Your opinion on Mother's Day, Alicia, whether or not, I know you are a mother, is that correct?
Yes, I am. I'm a mother and I'm a grandmother. And so, you know, you have Mother's Day all over the world, and I've been traveling lately. And so it's always important for us to honor. As a political activist, most of the people in my group are women and mothers. And mothers, you know, this whole idea of gentrification, displacement, and homes, it's the mothers that are mostly affected by it, because it's the mother that keeps the family together. And it's the mother that holds it down. It's the mother that secures the apartments. And so we've been fighting. Our main fight is to protect the mothers and the families. So we believe that our resistance and the women that are collectively working together is very powerful, because we are women. And so, and that's a good thing, you know, it's a good thing.
What made you become an activist in your community?
And I'm going to repeat that, because you don't have a microphone on, right? So the question off camera was, what made Alicia Boyd become an activist?
A development project was being proposed in the neighborhood. It was a state run. It was called 626 Flatbush. It was the first time we were getting developed in our neighborhood. That was about 12 years ago. And the community heard about it. The community came out, and I wanted to participate in that. I wanted to it was coming up against Prospect Park, and it was going to overshadow the park. And so we were concerned about the shadow impact on the park. And we wanted the development project to just be lower. You know, they would have the same amount of space. It would have the same amount of rooms and everything. It would just be long and low and not tall and skinny. And so the fight was to try to protect Mother Nature.
Yeah.
So it started out with me trying to protect Mother Nature.
Wow.
You know, coming back to Mother's Day, right? And this is why Mother Nature. So we don't just honor our mothers, but we honor Mother Nature. I'm Native American as well, and so that cultural heritage is very much based on honoring Mother Nature and honoring the earth and spirit in that space. And so I guess it's just a part of who I am.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Well,
Happy Mother's Day to everyone. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What I mean to say also is don't let them hurt you, Mrs. Boyd.
What do you mean? Don't let them hurt me?
There are people out there that, like you said, they battered women. There are people out there that just don't care. Just don't care. They'll just say she's next in line to get her.
Well, you can't be a successful political activist, and I'm a successful political activist, and not have created quote unquote enemies, right? That just kind of goes with the territory. When we were able to start a massive development on Franklin Avenue that was going up against the garden, again, Mother Nature, right? Going up against the garden, that was a lot of power that we pushed back against, and we won against. So you cannot make enemies when you do that kind of initiative and you're that successful, especially in the Black community, because they don't expect us to be powerful. Right. If you do that resistance in white neighborhoods and a white community wins, they were like, oh yeah, because they're white, and they got political power and they do
access to capital,
right? Access to capital, they can hire attorneys and stuff. But when you're in a Black neighborhood, there's just a feeling that we are powerless, and so when you prove them wrong, it just kind of and so you don't get the support from your elected officials. You get bad mouth behind closed doors, or sometimes in front. Oh, don't deal with Miss Boyd. She's right. So it kind of comes with the territory. But like Mother's Day being on Sunday, being part of a spiritual kind of energy, women. I always feel like I'm protected.
And you are, because you're also from Brooklyn, right? and I want to say that part.
Born and raised.
So don't come after Miss Boyd, because you're going to have to deal with me and the rest of Brooklyn.
Also, the city charter, we were speaking about that before we got on camera with me in the office. About the city charter, when you first came on the show, you were talking and explaining to everyone about how they are trying to change the city charter. I would like to see or hear from you what exactly happened with that issue.
Well, the city charter is like our constitution of, you have the Constitution of the United States, and everybody kind of knows about that constitution. But the city charter is the city's constitution, and it can be changed when you ask the voters to change it. However, the whole process is controlled by the city from the beginning to the end.
Right.
And so the city always bends its message to approve whatever it is that they're asking the voters to agree to. They always make it look bright and pretty and good and all that. And so most of the time, city charter reforms are approved by the voters, because they only have one perspective, and that's the city's perspective that started the process in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, so those initiatives were around development, right? And they were allowing developers to build a lot faster without rules, taking away a lot of the rules that actually protect people, like making sure that there's space between buildings.
Right. Oh, some of the stuff now is insane.
Yeah.
There's putting the multi-level apartment luxury buildings right smack up against people's homes or shorter buildings. And then you wonder why there's a scaffold in the building is now leaning to the side.
I mean, cutting down the amount of backyard space. There was a whole allowing now development in one family districts now to be 2 and 3 and 4 stories where there used to be 1 story. So they did a complete upzoning. That means that they allowed all of the communities to now be taller and taller. So there was a lot of reforms that happened, and they all passed. I think there was only one initiative that didn't pass, and that was a state initiative where they wanted to take a park, a national park, and they wanted to do some development on it. And the communities all over New York City and the state said no, don't touch our parks.
Right.
Our parks should not be touched.
We need our trees.
Right. We need our trees. We don't want to hear your excuses. No, don't touch it. So that was the only initiative that did not pass, but everything else passed.
Well, this has been super informative. And I am getting older faster than I think. But the moment you started speaking, I realized, oh, you've been here before. Because, I don't know what I keep trying to deny. Well, you know what it is. I keep trying to be my younger self, but my older self is like, aha, you need Ginkgo or something like that. But the minute you start speaking, the way you articulate, I immediately say, oh, I mean, you know her because she's already been on the show already. So we're going to wrap it up tonight.
One personal issue.
Uh-oh.
I hope everyone have heard about the events that are coming in to New York, the FIFA Cup and the 225th celebration of this country. What we have in training for to watch over everything that is going on is a group called CERT, C-E-R-T, CERT. Mm-hmm. They are not being paid to watch over you and watch you where you're going and what you're doing. They come out in the hurricanes and they walk the bridges during hurricanes to see if there's anybody there lonely and forgotten or just sitting there. They do a great job. The CERTs, they are people that should be employers or employees and employers.
Okay. Are they volunteers?
They are volunteers now. I don't like that issue.
Do they mind being volunteers?
You can't tell them what they should mind and might not. They get there. There are about 300,000 of them, and they're not paid. They don't. They want to help the city. There is no need to help. Nothing is free in this country. So I don't know.
My services are free.
I'm
a political activist. Nobody pays
to be clear, mine are not. No, we all do some advocating. I think, with the amount of wealth you have, you probably should think about developing your own nonprofit or LLC and let these government contracts. You could literally go to our high schools and speak to our young people so that they're educated when they come out, when they know the power of voting, right? They know the power of investing in their own community and not going out or going to school. That's something you should think about. You have a wealth of knowledge.
One of the things I think when I feel like I've been guided into this work was to ensure that I didn't have any financial dependency upon any source.
Right.
And so by being independent, I have been able to be true to my cause. Unlike elected officials who might want to support you, but they're not true to the cause because they're
getting their funding from somewhere else.
And they're trying to keep their jobs. So my ability not to be dependent upon any funding source has allowed me to be true to my cause. So I like that.
No, I get it, but I'm also going to say Minority Women Business Enterprise certification is just you getting up in the morning saying that you're a brown woman and being able to access the $3.9 billion that New York State spends with Black people. And you don't have to account for anything. But with that said, looks like you don't have a date tonight. But I'm hungry, so so we gotta go. No, but it's good. And plus, being in our studio, after a little while, these lights start to burn you up. and we've kept you here. But I want to make sure, is there anything else before we go that you need to share with the audience at all?
No, I just want to wish everyone a happy Mother's Day, and hopefully if your mom has passed, make sure you're honoring her. If there are issues that you need to forgive her, this is the perfect time to do that. Mm-hmm. And it's important for us to think that, mothers are not perfect and to give sympathy and empathy to them, as well as honor the ones who are perfect and have done a good job. So I wish everyone a happy Mother's Day and that they be well in the world.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Are you going to turn the camera off this time? He leaves a live mic for quite a while. And I guess we're still live because if you look up top, you'll see. I forgot to take the pull springs off.
Huh? Oh, you're not supposed to show what you're drinking.
Because